Hey guys, it's Instal with Leo TakeDown. Today we're going to walk you through the assembly for the new Leo TakeDown AR-15 kit today. Go ahead and open it up. This is how it's going to come. Down, pull out your card, and inside of here is actually going to be your barrel nut shim pack, as well as the written instructions. So your written instructions are going to have a URL to this installation video on our website, as well as tools needed and numbered steps to install. As well, on the back you have an exploded view, which is just going to show you all the parts and label them and tell you what we call them so you don't get mixed up. Set that to the side. Next we got our hardware pack. It does come with the 2 Allen wrenches you'll need. It's a 9/64 Allen wrench and a 1/8 inch Allen wrench. Set those to the side, as well as your isolation bolts and your 1 6 o'clock bolt that's going to anchor the upper receiver coupling to the upper receiver. So set those down for now. And some more basic tools you're going to need are your upper receiver vise block. You're going to need a 1-inch tube that's slightly longer than whatever barrel you're installing. We have a metal one because we do these all the time, but PVC works fine if you're just installing a couple of these. You're just looking for something to make even contact around that circular wedge, but we'll get into that later. Another good tool to have on hand is just a simple AR-15 armorer's wrench. Of course, other wrenches and pliers will do the same job, but that's basically all you need to get started, and so we'll jump into it. We'll get our upper receiver coupling out of the pack. It's going to come in this protective rubber cover. Just pull that off, sits inside. And this is your upper receiver coupling. You've got your barrel coupling wedge, as well as the spacer that sits on top of it, and your gas tube protector and chamber protector. So set that to the side and get this out of the way, and we'll jump into it. So first things first, what we're going to do is take your upper receiver. Obviously, if you're adding this to a pre-existing firearm, you want to make sure the firearm is safe, completely unloaded, and all that good stuff. But for this purpose, we're doing it with a strip blower, so I'm just going to start by threading this straight on. We're going to thread this all the way down so it bottoms out, and you can see that the gas tube hole is just barely past the hole in the upper receiver. So what we're going to do is just back that off to the first hole that lines up with it, and then one more. And just make sure that's lined up. We're going to go ahead and set this in the vise block. Get this thing in the vise. And what we're going to do now is just simply test it. So, got your upper receiver coupling. Oops. Backed all the way down. One off. Let's take your barrel coupling, and it's going to slide. You're going to keep the threads pointed towards the muzzle threads, and you're just going to slide it over the muzzle end, and it's going to come down and encompass the ridge on your barrel extension. And we have an index mark for you on the barrel coupling, so that's going to correlate with the index pin in the barrel. You just want those centered and lined up as perfectly as possible. So just going to go ahead and put this barrel in with our hands. Let the barrel go in first. Want to make sure it seats all the way down in there, lined up properly. And then our barrel coupling, again, we want to make sure it's lined up properly with the index marks. And we're going to pull back, make sure my spring sleeves align. We're going to pull back and pop it in. We can see that the spring sleeve fully closes around the barrel coupling, and if I hold the upper receiver coupling, nope, we see the spring sleeve fully closes, so we know we're in the right position. So what we're going to do now is take this barrel back off. We're going to be very careful not to spin our upper receiver coupling any until I'm going to take this 1/8 inch Allen wrench and go ahead and stick it in this bottom hole. That way I know that's going to be my 6 o'clock bottom gas tube hole that I'm going to use for the set screw. And I'm just going to go ahead and unthread this a little bit, take it out of the vise, because we actually have to put this set screw in from the back. The threads don't go all the way down, and it makes it a little bit more tedious for installation wise, but once you get this installed, since the threads don't go all the way through, there's going to be no way that this set screw can ever come all the way out without completely unthreading the upper receiver coupling. So you see there, I got the Allen wrench sticking all the way through. Set this down so you guys can see. And I'm going to go ahead and put the bolt on, and I'm just going to start reverse threading it, like I'm backing it out, and that's going to pull it up into the upper receiver coupling. And then once it's up in there, I can spin it back around to where it's in the 6 o'clock position. And I'm going to start off by eyeballing this and making sure what I'm doing is looking straight down the gas tube hole and making sure I don't see too much of the sides of the receiver, because I want to make sure that my gas tube can still freely slide in and out without binding on the inside of the upper receiver. So, got that. And we're going to test fit it again. Just one more time, just to make sure we're still lined up properly. It's still going to close up right. Actually going to back off a little bit on this set screw. Don't want to put any pressure on just yet. Barrel all the way in. Barrel coupling's lined up, it's resting. Pull back on the spring sleeve, push in. Spring sleeve fully closes, so we know we're lined up right. Take the barrel back off. Now I'm actually going to sit the Allen wrench back in. It's resting inside of the set screw, and I'm going to unthread this completely, making sure that that doesn't fall out. And that's just going to allow me not to lose which hole was the bottom 6 o'clock set screw. So now what we're going to do is apply red Loctite to the upper receiver threads. I'm going to put a liberal amount on here, nothing too crazy. We don't want to squeeze it out all over, out of all the orifices and wasting it, but definitely going to use a liberal amount. Get it spread around there, should be good enough. 3-4 good size drops should be plenty. Then I'm going to thread this back on. And we know this was a 6 o'clock hole because our Allen wrench is still in there, so we'll put that back at the 6 o'clock position. And we're going to put our gas tube back in, make sure it's correctly lined up, going into the upper receiver and not binding on the walls. Feels good. I'm going to check it with my eyes. Looks good from behind. One more time. And I'm happy with it. So we're going to follow the instructions on the Loctite, and we're going to let it cure for 24 hours. And we'll see you back then. Alright, welcome back guys. It's been 24 hours. We've let our Loctite set up and cure. So now we're going to remove the upper receiver from the vise and install our anti-rotation bolts into the back side of the upper receiver coupling. Just one on each side on that closest hole. And these things don't have to be torqued down very much either. Just bottom one out, tighten them down, and one on the other side. And that's just going to act as a additional fail-safe, so this thing absolutely can't come unthread on you.